Good morning. Again, welcome back to our online classes. I hope that you all are good and doing your studies also. Students, today we are here with the same chapter number 11, second part, in which I have already told you about the certain topics in the previous part of this chapter. So today we are going to discuss about the remaining topics of this chapter one by one. So let's start with the first topic of this chapter, that is pressure. So first we will know that what is pressure. Now we are going to know about that what is pressure and how we will define that what is pressure. Pressure means force acting per unit area. We define the pressure like this: force acting per unit area is commonly known as pressure. Pressure is produced when a force acts on an object. So when the force acts on an object, in that case the pressure is produced. So we can define the pressure like this: force acting per unit area is commonly known as pressure. In most of the cases, an object exerts force on another object by making contact it with or by touching it. Now we are going to describe that how the effects of the force applied by one object on another object depends on the area of contact between the two objects. Now this will be clear to you with the help of the following examples, in which the first example that I am going to give you. For example, if we push hard on a piece of wood with our thumb, the thumb does not go into the wood. But if we push a drawing pin into the wood with the same force of thumb, the drawing pin goes into the wood. These observations can be explained as follows. Our thumb does not go into the wood because the force of the thumb is falling on a large area of the wood, due to which the force per unit area or pressure on the wood is small. The drawing pin goes into the wood because due to the sharp tip of the drawing pin, the force of the thumb is falling on a very small area of the wood, and due to which the force per unit area or pressure on the wood becomes very large. So it is clear from this example that the pressure is the force acting on a unit area of the object, and here the object is what? The object is wood. So the force acting per unit area is known as pressure. Here the force of thumb produces a small pressure when it acts on a large area of the wood, but the same force of the thumb produces much greater pressure when it acts on a very small area of wood through the tip of the drawing pin. Thus the effect of the force depends on the area of the object on which it acts. So we can say that the effect of the force depends on the area of the object on which it acts. So the pressure is the force acting on a unit area of the object. We can define it like this: pressure is the force acting on unit area of an object. Now there is a formula that is used to calculate the pressure. Pressure is equal to force upon area. So here we can calculate the pressure by using this formula. Now this formula gives a relation between the pressure and force, force and area. This formula shows you that pressure is inversely proportional to area. It means that with an increase in area, pressure decreases, and with decrease in area, pressure increases, and it is directly proportional to force. It means that by increasing the amount of force, the pressure will also get increased. By decreasing the amount of force, the pressure will also get decreased. Now here the SI unit for measuring the force is Newton. I have already told in to you in your previous part that the SI unit for measuring the force is Newton, that is denoted by capital N, and the SI unit for measuring the area is meter square. So therefore the SI unit for measuring the pressure is Newton per square meter, or we can say it is also known as Pascal. The Pascal is denoted by capital P and small a. So the SI unit for measuring the pressure is Pascal, and 1 Pascal is equal to 1 Newton per meter square. So the Pascal is a very small unit of pressure. So the bigger unit of pressure is kilopascal. Kilopascal is a bigger unit of pressure, and the symbol for kilopascal is small k, capital P and a small a. 1 kilopascal is equal to 1000 pascal, and 1 kilopascal is equal to 1000 pascal. So we can calculate the pressure by using this formula, and I have told you that what is the SI unit of pressure. The SI unit of pressure is Pascal, and 1 Pascal is equal to 1 Newton per meter square. How it is 1 Newton per meter square? Because we are knowing that pressure is equal to force upon area, and the SI unit of force is Newton, and we calculate the area in meter per square. So the SI unit for measuring the pressure is Pascal, and 1 Pascal is equal to 1 Newton per meter square. Now the pressure depends on two factors: force applied, and second one is area over which the force acts. If the same force can produce the different pressure depending on the area on which it acts. For example, when the force acts over a large area of an object, it produces a small pressure. And if the same force acts over a small area of the object, it produces the large pressure, because there is a relation between the pressure, force and area, and this is clear to you with the help of this formula. Pressure is equal to force upon area. This shows that pressure is inversely proportional to area, and it is directly proportional to force. So it is inversely proportional to area, so that same force produces the different pressure depending on the area on which it acts. When the force acts over a large area, then it produces a small pressure, and if the same force acts over a small area of the object, it produces a large pressure. Now application of pressure in our everyday life. So there are various applications of pressure in our everyday life. For example, can openers, knife, plane, bulldozers, suction cups. So these are the certain applications of the pressure in our everyday life. Now we are going to know about the pressure exerted by the gases. In our previous part, we have already discussed about the pressure exerted by the liquid. So in this part, we are going to discuss about the pressure exerted by the gases. The substances such as hydrogen, helium, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, these all are gases. Gases exert the pressure on the wall of their containers. The pressure is exerted by all the gases, but since air is the most common gas, therefore we are going to discuss that the pressure that is exerted by the air. Air exerts the pressure in all the direction. Air is what? It is a mixture of gases. All the gases are made up of teeny particles, and that teeny particles are known as molecules, which move around quickly in all the directions. Fast moving gas collide with one another with the walls of the container in which they are kept. So when the fast moving gas molecule collide with the walls of their container, they exerts a force on the walls of the container. When these fast moving gas molecules that collide with the walls of their containers, they exerts a force on the walls of the container, and this force produces the gas pressure. So we can say that air pressure arises due to the constant collisions of the teeny molecules of the gases present in air with the walls of the container or vessels in which it is enclosed. For example, if a certain mass of the air is compressed into a small molecule, then the number of the collisions of the air molecules per unit area increases, and hence the pressure exerted by the air goes up. And if the container of the air has stretchable walls like that of rubber balloon, the higher pressure that is exerted by the air inflates the container and increases the size of the container and makes it to look bigger. For example, take a rubber balloon and fill the air into it with mouth or by using a pump. We will find that on filling in air, the balloon gets inflated or it gets expands and become bigger in size. This can be explained as follows. When we put a lot of air in the balloon, then the number of the gas molecules in the balloon increases too much. The large number of gas molecules causing too many collisions with the walls of the balloon inside and create a high air pressure. And this high air pressure produced by the gas molecules on the walls of the balloons causes it to expand and gets inflated. And due to the presence of this high number of the gas molecules, that produce the air pressure on the walls of the balloon, and that causes it to expand and gets inflated. Similarly, when the air is pumped into a bicycle tube by using a pump, the bicycle tube gets inflated due to the air pressure gets exerted by the collision of the gas molecules in the air with the inner walls of the rubber tube. This air pressure in the bicycle makes the tube of the bicycle tire feel hard. Now, here there are two examples that gases exerts the pressure. First one is when the air is filled into a balloon with a mouth, the balloon gets inflated and gets bigger in size. Second one is when the air is filled into a bicycle tube with a pump, the tube gets inflated and makes the tire feel hard. The air pressure we have just described is due to the motion of the gas molecules present in air, which is enclosed in a container like balloon or football. Now, this is about the pressure that is exerted by the gases. Now we are going to talk about the atmospheric pressure. So let's know about that, what is atmosphere and what is atmospheric pressure. So firstly we will know that what is atmosphere. The layer of air above the earth is commonly known as atmosphere. Air in our atmosphere extends up to 300 kilometers above the surface of the earth. The atmosphere contains tremendous amount of air. Air has weight, so the atmosphere that is consisting of tremendous amount of air has enormous weight, and the weight of the atmosphere exerts a pressure on the earth and on all the objects on the earth, including ourselves, and this pressure is commonly known as atmospheric pressure. So the atmospheric pressure is the air pressure which is exerted by the weight of the air present in the atmosphere. So actually the atmospheric pressure is what? It is the air pressure which is exerted by the weight of the air that is present in the atmosphere. Or in other words, we can define it like this: atmospheric pressure is due to the weight of the air that is present in the atmosphere above us. And this atmospheric pressure also acts in all the direction. Now we are going to talk about the magnitude of the air pressure. Now let's talk about that. What is the magnitude of the atmospheric pressure? On the surface of the earth, the atmospheric pressure is maximum at the sea level. Now we are going to know that why on the surface of the earth the atmospheric pressure is maximum. This is because the air column of the air above us is tallest at the sea level. The atmospheric pressure on the surface of the earth at the sea level is 101.3 kilopascal, which is equivalent to the weight of the 10 elephants pressing on each square meter area. Thus the magnitude of the atmospheric pressure is very large. So as we go up in the atmosphere from the surface of the earth, the atmospheric pressure goes on decreasing. So why the atmospheric pressure goes on decreasing when we go up in the atmosphere from the surface of the earth? This is because when we go up in the atmosphere, the weight of the air above us goes on decreasing. As we go up, the weight of the air above us goes on decreasing, and due to which the weight of the pressure also goes on decreasing. So the atmospheric pressure, so we can say that the atmospheric pressure on the top of the high mountain will be much less than at its base. So the SI unit for measuring the pressure, we are knowing well that it is Pascal, but the atmospheric pressure is usually measured in the unit of millimeters of mercury. That will be denoted by mm of mercury, and thus the common unit for measuring the atmospheric pressure is millimeters of mercury. The atmospheric pressure on the surface of the earth at the sea level is 760 millimeter of mercury. So this is about the magnitude of the atmospheric pressure. I have told you that on the surface of the earth the atmospheric pressure is maximum, and why it is maximum at the sea level, because the air column above us is tallest at the sea level, and the atmospheric pressure on the surface of the earth is very large, and because due to the air above us is tallest. This is due to the large weight of the air, that the atmospheric pressure is very large. And when we goes up in the atmosphere from the surface of the earth, the atmospheric pressure goes on decreasing. This is because when we go up the atmosphere, the weight of the air above us goes on decreasing, and due to that the atmospheric pressure also gets decreases when we go up. So we can say that the atmospheric pressure on the top of the high mountain will be much less than at its base. Now we are going to talk about some activities that shows the existence of the atmospheric pressure. So this is the activity that is given to you here. We are going to describe that to show the existence of the atmospheric pressure. In this activity, we will use the atmospheric pressure to hold the water in inverted glass tumbler. So this activity can be performed as follows. Take a glass tumbler, filled to the brim with water and covered with a piece of thick and smooth card that is shown to you in the given figure. Now we press the card hard, show that there is no air in the glass tumbler, and we press the card so hard that there is no air in the glass tumbler. Keeping the card in the position with one hand, we invert the glass tumbler full of water, and then after we invert that glass tumbler full of water, the hand supporting the card is then withdrawn slowly. We will see that the piece of the card does not fall through the tumbler is full of water, exerts the pressure on the card in the downward direction. Here the water that is filled in that glass tumbler exerts the pressure on the card, but still the card does not get fall. The card does not fall because the atmospheric pressure, just look at the diagram that is given to you here. The card does not fall because the atmospheric pressure acts on the card in the upward direction. In that arrowhead shows that there is atmospheric pressure that is acting in the upward direction and that hold the card in that position. That upward atmospheric pressure acting on the card is greater than the downward pressure of the water on the card, and due to this activity shows that the existence of the atmospheric pressure. So here the atmospheric pressure is acting upwards, hold the card in the place and prevents the water from running out. So this activity shows you that the existence of the atmospheric pressure. Now there is the certain applications of the atmospheric pressure in our everyday life. First is drinking straw, second is in a syringe, third one is dropper, and fourth one is rubber sucker. So we are going to discuss about all these applications in our everyday life one by one. So let's start with the first one. Now we are going to talk about this drinking straw. So this is one of the application of the atmospheric pressure. Here the drinking straw is a very thin pipe which is used to drink the soft drinks. Drinking straw works on the existence of the atmospheric pressure, and this drinking straw works on the existence of the atmospheric pressure. The lower end of the drinking straw is, just look at the diagram that is given to you. The lower end of the drinking straw is dipped in soft drink, and when we suck at the upper end of the straw, and when you suck at the upper end of the straw with your mouth, the pressure of the air inside the straw and in our mouth is reduced. So due to the sucking, the pressure inside the straw in our mouth is reduced, but the pressure that is acting on the surface of the soft drink is equal to the atmospheric pressure. But there is a pressure that is acting on the surface of the soft drink and which is equal to the atmospheric pressure. So greater atmospheric pressure acting on the surface of the soft drink pushes that soft drink up the straw into our mouth. And due to that greater atmospheric pressure that is acting on the surface of the soft drink, which pushes the soft drink up the straw into our mouth. So this is one of the application of the atmospheric pressure. Now next one that I have already told you about this activity, that the force that is caused by the atmospheric pressure acts on the surface of the cardboard is greater than the weight of the water in the glass. So this activity also shows you that the atmospheric pressure that is acted on the card into the upward direction is much more than the pressure that is exerted by the liquid that is filled in that glass tumbler, and that atmospheric pressure which is acting on that card in upward direction is much greater than the pressure that is exerted by the liquid which is filled in that glass tumbler, and due to this, that atmospheric pressure that holds the card in that position and the water in that glass tumbler does not get fall. So this is also one of the application of the atmospheric pressure. Now next one is about the rubber sucker. Now we are going to talk about the rubber sucker. So first of all, we know that what is rubber sucker. Rubber sucker is a device that is mainly made up of rubber or plastic that sticks firmly to a flat or a smooth surface on pressing, and when we press it on a smooth surface or a flat surface, it gets stuck firmly. The rubber sucker looks like a small concave shaped rubber cup. Just look at the diagram that is given to you here. The rubber sucker is also known as suction cup. Why it is known as suction cup? Because it sticks to the surface by suction. Suction means production of partial vacuum by the removal of the air is called suction. So suction is defined like this: the production of partial vacuum by removing the air by the removal of the air is commonly known as suction. So it is also known as suction cup due to this. When we press the rubber sucker on a flat or a smooth surface, its concave rubber cup gets flattened to a large extent, pushing out most of the air from beneath it. Since very little air remains inside the flattened rubber sucker, and therefore the air pressure inside the rubber sucker becomes very low and partial vacuum is created. So the air pressure inside the rubber sucker becomes very low due to this, and partial vacuum is created. The much greater atmospheric pressure is acting on the rubber sucker from outside, but from outside much greater atmospheric pressure is acting on the rubber sucker that fixes the rubber sucker firmly on the flat surface. Thus the rubber sucker stays attached firmly to the flat surface due to the atmospheric pressure. So we can say that this rubber sucker stays attached firmly to a flat surface. This is mainly due to the atmospheric pressure. And in order to pull away that fixed rubber sucker from the surface, we will have to apply a force which is large enough to overcome the atmospheric pressure. Suppose that if you want to pull away that rubber sucker from that surface, then you have to apply the force which is much larger than the atmospheric pressure, that atmospheric pressure which is holding it onto the surface. So rubber suckers are usually used to hold the objects together with the help of suction. Suction, I have already told you what is suction. Suction means the production of partial vacuum by the removal of the air is commonly known as suction. So the rubber suckers are used to hold the glass tabletops onto the wooden frames of tables. Rubber suckers are also used for making the suction hooks which are fixed on the walls, doors and mirrors to hold the various things. Suction hook is a rubber or plastic sucker having a plastic or metal hook attached to it. So these are the certain uses of the rubber sucker. So I have told you about that, what is rubber sucker and how it works. Now there are some questions that is given to you and the answers is already given here. Now I am going to tell you about all the questions. Here the first question is, name the forces that is act on a plastic bucket containing water held above the ground level in your hand, and discuss why the forces acting on the bucket do not bring a change in its state of motion. So when you hold a plastic bucket containing water above the groundwater, there are certain forces acting on that bucket, but they do not cause any change in its state of motion. Why? So the answer is, when we make use of muscular force to hold the bucket of water above the ground, because we are holding the bucket of water above the ground by the muscular force. We are using the muscular force, and this muscular force acts against the force of gravity, and there is another force that pulls the bucket in downward direction, and that is known as the force of gravity. So the muscular force acts on the bucket as well as the gravity also acts on the bucket, and these two forces are equal in magnitude, and they are equal in magnitude but opposite in direction. But their direction is opposite to each other. One is acting from the downward direction and one is acting on the upward direction. So they are opposite in direction but equal in magnitude. Therefore the net force on the bucket is 0. And due to this, the net force on the bucket is 0, and hence there is no change in its state of motion. So this is the answer of this question. Second question is, a rocket has been fired upwards to launch a satellite into its orbit. Name the two forces on the rocket immediately after leaving the launching pad. So the two forces acting here also, force of gravity, the force of gravity which pulls the rocket towards the ground, and the frictional force is also acting on it, that is mainly due to the earth atmosphere which opposes its motion. So these two forces acting on that rocket, which is the rocket that has been fired upwards to launch the satellite into its orbit. Next question is, when we press a bulb of a dropper with its nozzle kept in water, the air in the dropper is seen to escape in the form of bubbles. You have seen this also. Here, once release the pressure on the bulb, the water gets filled in the dropper. The rise in water in the dropper is mainly due to the 4 option is given to you. First option is pressure of water, second option is gravity of earth, third option is shape of rubber bulb, and fourth one is atmospheric pressure. So the correct answer is atmospheric pressure. The rise in water in the dropper is mainly due to the atmospheric pressure, and this rise in water in the dropper is due to the atmospheric pressure. When all the air escapes from the nozzle then the atmospheric pressure which is acting on the water, that forces the water to fill the nozzle of the dropper, and due to that atmospheric pressure which is acting on the water, that forces the water to fill the nozzle of the dropper. So this is the answer of this question. There is another question. What is push and pull on an object is commonly known as. The push and pull on an object is commonly known as force. Name the agent which change the state of the motion of an object. The force can change the state. When you apply a force on any object, then only you are able to change the state of the motion of an object. So the answer is what? Force. Explain the terms with some suitable examples. So how you can define the force? Force is defined as push or pull acting on a body. And there are certain examples: pushing a table, pulling a door, lifting a bucket of water, hitting a ball with a bat. These all are the examples to show the force. Now there's another question given to you. Identify the actions involved in the following situation. Opening a drawer, pull. Cricket ball hits by the batsman, push. Lifting the bucket of water from a well, pull. Moving a book placed on a table, both push and pull. Football player taking a penalty corner, push. Moving a wheelbarrow, push. Now, forces are mainly due to the interaction. I have already told you in your previous part that the forces are mainly due to the interaction between the two objects. So mention the necessary condition for the force to come into play. What are the necessary conditions that is required for the force to come into play? So the necessary condition are: at least the two objects should be present for the force to come into play. At least the two objects are required for the force to come into the play, because the force are mainly due to the interaction. When that two objects interact with each other, then the force comes into play. Now there are some multiple choice questions that is given to you, in which the first question is: which one of the following force always acts in always opposes the motion? So correct answer is friction. Friction is also known as frictional force or opposing force. Pressure is defined as force acting per unit area. Now third question is: which one of the following statement are false about the force? The answer is no object interaction is required for the force to come play. It is a necessary condition for the force to come into play. So the false statement about the force is that no object's interaction is required for the force to come into play. Fourth question is: when the force is applied on an object is equal and opposite, then this force causes they do not move the object and may cause the change in its shape. So the question is: when the forces applied on an object are equal and opposite, then what it causes? It do not move that object, but it causes a change in its shape. Question number 5 is: the leaves and fruits falls to the ground when they gets detached from a plant. Which one of the following force is acting on it? The answer is gravitational force. The last question is: which one of the following is an example of contact force? The options are magnetic force, muscular force, electrostatic force, and gravitational force. The answer is muscular force. Muscular force is the example of the contact force. So students, I have covered all the topics of this chapter today. So there are some more questions that is given to you in your book. The exercises are given. So must revise all the topics and try to solve all the exercises yourself and try to learn it also. So students, do your studies well. Thank you.